let's wish us luck.
Yeah, let's hope it works. So we've been having a few Wi-Fi issues, guys, but eventually here we are. So good evening, everyone, and sorry for the late start, but here we are anyway, eventually. So it's really, really lovely to have you with us, Marie. It's really great to see you, because I had the pleasure of meeting you in person when we went to the Resilient Young Minds conference. Word escaped me for a second there, on Thursday and Friday last week. And what an amazing conference. It was just, it was mind-blowing. It was brilliant. So yeah, we met face-to-face there and had a chance to have a little chat, and it was really, really, really good to meet you. And I am really interested in some of the stuff that you are up to, using this understanding. You know, these webinars are all about sharing with people the understanding of the mind that transforms lives. And I know sometimes when people first come across that and you kind of say things like that, they think, well, that's a little bit of a big thing to say. But I've seen it so many times now that I just don't have any doubt that that's what this can do. So I would really, really love you to share whatever makes sense to you, to share some of the stuff you're up to, what you've seen around this understanding. It would be really great to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Deborah. And thanks everybody for starting later for me. I go to yoga twice a week, and it's kind of sacrosanct, because if I go to yoga, I can actually run and I can move my back, and if I start to miss it, so it's the only thing that I can't shift. So I really, really appreciate it. What I thought I might do is just tell you a bit about me and how my journey a little bit as a young person, because that's really, really sparked the passion for me for the work I do now. So I've only lived in Exeter for 4 years, and pretty much nobody really knows my journey as a younger person. So I'd really love to share it with you. And it will kind of explain how come I'm here today. So can you all hear me okay? Yeah, cool. So I was the child of an alcoholic and it really got bad from about the age of about 13. And my mum made some really, really poor decisions in her life, and each poor decision spiraled onto another poor decision, and it kind of, for her, things got really out of control, and we kind of went along on the way, really. And when I was 15, she got pregnant and had another child, and she didn't cope very well. So I kind of got left holding the baby, really, to be honest. So I had a really massive part of my baby sister's early years until she was about 10, really. And literally my mum would go off for a packet of cigarettes when I got home from school on a Friday and not come back till Monday. And so it was a challenging time. And as a child of an alcoholic, you end up being a people pleaser and a fixer, because you're always trying to fix everything, and you feel a little bit guilty about everything. So I ended up being a classically, brilliantly, wonderful fixer. I used to fix everybody, even if they didn't want to be fixed. I would matchmake people. I was very, very busy fixing everybody else, which I quite enjoyed, really. And I finally I got to college, and I was really fed up. I was really pissed off, to be honest, and I really felt that life was unfair, and that the life kind of owed me, because I'd been dealt this bad deck of cards. I was a real victim in the sense of, the word in that case. And I dropped out of college, and nobody stopped me. No, not a single person. This is a while ago now. I'm in my early 50s now, and so this is, fair old time ago. And they just let me go. Nobody stopped me and said, "Hold on a minute, have you thought about this?" And so I just went off and I worked nights in an old people's home. and I had bits of time on the dole, and I grew up in the New Forest, so we basically, because we couldn't afford beer, we just picked magic mushrooms, which, you know, I'm not particularly proud of, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs, you know, walking around picking these magic mushrooms. Dabbled with a few other things, was involved with a boyfriend in a band. And all the while I knew this wasn't right. I knew it wasn't me. I just knew that I was destined for other stuff, but I didn't know what, and I just didn't know anything really. And I grew up in a small town, and the police car, I must have been about 19, and a police car pulled up beside me, and I was ever so polite. I was very respectful. I would never have been rude to the police or anything like that. And the police pulled up and they said, Marie, get in the car. And it was a small town, and it was a long time ago, so they would have easily have known my name. And I got in the car, and this police officer, a female, said, Marie, get out of that house you're living in. We know there's loads of drugs there. We know that this band, we know there's all sorts going on. You're not part of that. That's not who you are. Get out. And I sat there, and my instant reaction was to be defensive and be angry. And then as time went on, I thought that she's right. She's right. This isn't where I should be. And I left. And I went and got some jobs where you lived in. I travelled. I was searching for something. I didn't know what it was. Somebody gave me the Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book, which I absolutely loved. And I became a Covey fan, and I really loved it. And I began a journey of self-help because I absolutely knew that this kind of wayward party girl, if I'd been in London, I would have been an it girl. You know, I just wanted to party and have fun. That was the most important thing. And all the while, I wasn't being very kind to myself at all. And I kind of carried on like that, but I really sorted myself out. From about 25 onwards, I was really pretty solid. I was still a fixer, still a matchmaker, but I was on a path. And I began working for Bournemouth Council as a leisure officer, organising half marathons and, things like that. But I also worked in a youth club in the evening, and I worked 2 evenings a week, and I just loved it. I loved it, and I was drawn to young people. And I think young people were drawn to me, especially young women. And I just really started to have a sense that this is what I should be doing. And then I got promoted, and I started to becoming a sport and youth development officer. So I started working with lots of young people in rural areas, looking at, being very isolated and not having access to sport. Maybe they wanted a skate park, and I'd go into schools and I'd talk to young people and find out what they wanted and help them to articulate what they needed and actually get some activities going on in their area. And I really thrived on that as well. Then I somehow, I don't know how, but I ended up teaching in a college. I started teaching sport. I should say that after my wayward time, when I gave up college, I worked for a year and I put myself back into college, and I did basically a BTEC in health and social care, but it wasn't called that then. It was called something different, but that was essentially what it was. So I got my level 3 qualification in the end, and I thrived on that as well. That kind of social care, kind of communicating, that was really for me. The truth was I followed my sister because my sister did it. And I didn't know what to do, so I just did what she did. But actually, we're quite similar, so it worked. So I started teaching in a college, teaching sport, and I became much more interested in the young person, the student as a young person. I became much more interested in the pieces of coursework that they handed in. And I was also a personal tutor, and quite quickly I became involved in the pastoral team. And in the end, I was managing the pastoral team. And it was basically for 3,500 people. There were 12 senior tutors, and we looked after everything that wasn't classroom based. And the strapline for the team was helping you to help yourself, because the way our team worked and the way that I felt so passionately was that we were not there to tell them what to do. We were there to help them decide what it is they needed to do. And in every situation, when the young people, when the students were given time, they could work it out for themselves. So I'll give you a really, really nice example, because I really, really loved this job so much. A young man wasn't attending his A-levels. He was being quite snappy to teachers. He was out of character, but he was 16. It was his first year, so we didn't really know him that well. And all the teachers, the A-level subject teachers, wanted him off their program, because when you don't think somebody's going to work out, you get them off your subject as quickly as possible, so they don't become a number, and therefore they don't. If they fail, it's not on you. It's not on you as a teacher. So you want to get them off. You'll weed out the ones you don't think are going to be successful. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. We need to work out what's going on. So a number of discussions with him, which really was listening to him, really listening to him. He said, do you know what? He said, my mum and dad have split up and they've both remarried. And my mum's had a baby and my dad's had a baby. And they both seem to think that I'm there to look after the baby. So I'm babysitting, I'm changing nappies, I'm feeding. He said, I didn't have a baby. And that obviously resonated with me because of my story. And it's right, he didn't have a baby. I said, well, what do you want to do about it? And the old Marie would have gone, I'll call your mum, I'll call your dad. It's like, what do you want to do about it? And he said, I want them to see that I'm me in my own right and I want to get on with my studies. So in the end, there was some coaching, how can you have that conversation? And to cut a long story short, he went off and he had the conversation with both parents. And they recognized that he needed not to be drawn on. It was a really lovely example of how we could find a way to get behind what the issue was, to see the real problem and help the person help themselves. I left that college down in Dorset, and I moved to Devon to be with my now husband. I was working away and going home, coming here at weekends. And I worked for Cornwall College Group. I worked for Saltash College and Bicton College, doing exactly the same thing, leading pastoral teams. And unfortunately, the way the public sector is now, and further education was the hardest hit of all the sectors. The counsellors went and the pastoral teams went in this area, in Devon and Cornwall, for Cornwall College Group. So I got made redundant. That was 2 years ago. And I just thought, okay, my time's done with FE, but my time's not done with young people. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I went and got a job with Exeter University. But I thought, this isn't enough. This isn't what I want to do. This is just a job. This is just to earn some money. So I'd already made contact with young Devon when I was at Bicton College. And I contacted Jamie Keys, who was at the conference. And I said, Jamie, can you have use of me? And he said, yep, absolutely. So I had to apply. And I think Emma Ingledew might be on the call, or she was on the call, and she's just got a job with young Devon too. So I'm really thrilled about that. Yeah. And so we're infiltrating. We're getting in there. And I started working for young Devon. In the meantime, my husband had found out about the 3 principles inside out understanding. And he'd started, he'd read a book, and then he'd gone to Kim Hare, I think it's Kim Hare or Kim O'Hare. He'd gone to one of her courses, and he was changing. He was changing in front of my eyes. And I was like, man, this is scaring me, because I don't know what's going on. And I'm back here and you're over there. So I started thinking, I need to be on this. So I read Jack Pranksy's book, Somebody Should Have Told Us, and I loved it. It was a little bit religious for me, if I'm honest, but every time I heard the word God or read the word God, I changed it to Mother Earth, because that's what I do. That's just for me. That's my own personal thing. I loved it so much. As soon as I finished the last word, I went back and I read it from the beginning again. And then I read Michael Neal, and I found it very confusing, very, very confusing. But saying that, fundamentally, I knew that I'd found the thing that I'd always been searching for. All the while that I knew I was okay, when all the shit was flying and I was in a really bad place as a young woman, I knew I was okay. I knew there was more substance to me, but I didn't know what it was. And now I'd found what it was. And it was just lovely. I can't tell you, it was lovely. But I just overthought it so much. Oh man, I was overthinking it. And I was thinking, does that mean that people can be bastards and I just have to let them off?
Such a common question.
Does it mean that I just have to accept it? And I thought, that can't be right. And I joined a program that Anne Ross was running. And I don't know if you all know Anne Ross. She's obviously local and she's just an incredible woman. And the course didn't run and I'd paid already. And she said, Marie, it's not running, but would you like 4 coaching sessions with me? And man, I took it and I just loved it. And then I did some work with Rudy Kennard, and I started watching webinars and going to conferences with Keith Blevin and Valda Monroe. And this is kind of my journey. And then I've just read and I've watched webinars, and sometimes I've been so overloaded, I've thought, God, what do these people do? Do they only ever watch webinars and read blogs and read books? And how do we have time to do all this stuff? So sometimes I've rejected it. And so my journey with the Inside Understanding has taken me about 3 years to get to where I am now. And I'm kind of, I only say what I see. I'm in no way, I don't pretend to be an expert by any means, but I'm comfortable with where I am. And I'm in a position where I only work with young people through the Inside Out Understanding. So Jamie knows that at Young Devon. And now I only work at the university 2 days a week, and I work privately with young people. I'll work with anybody, but I'm drawn to young people. This is where I think my gift is, to have that connection, and especially with young women. And I love it. I love it. And, most of it I end up doing for free somehow, because, people do pay, but, I'm not stuck to that. I think I'm in service, and I just think it's something that I'm drawn to do. And I know that when I left college, I walked out that door, there should have been an adult there to stop me or question me or do something and I knew all the way through my all the way through my O-levels, I didn't have an adult. I didn't have somebody who had my back. My mum wanted to have my back, but she didn't have my back. Mm. And I feel that what we're doing with this Resilient Young Minds conference and the legacy work and all the work we're all doing together is we're being that adult. We're being the person who isn't the parent, isn't the teacher, isn't a counsellor. And I've not gone down the counselling route on purpose. It's a very definite decision. Somebody who listens with their heart and gives a young person the time that they need. And when I talk to them about the Inside Out Understanding and I explain to them how I see it, I just see it fall away. I just see the kind of busyness just start to fall, and it can all come back again, of course, and as it does for me. And it's just the most lovely thing. And I've got lots and lots of examples for you. And also I wanted to share with you how I do it. I use drawings a lot because I'm quite articulate, but there are days that I'm not articulate, and I fall back on drawings because I think young people can relate to them. So I take a notepad with me and I take some coloured Sharpies and we draw. And I've got them that I'd like to share with you. Mm. And today I saw 2 young people. I saw a younger brother, and then I saw the older sister. I went into the school to meet them. and just referring back to the drawings, referring back to them, because that's how it seems that, especially young people, as lads in year 7 or 8, I think now, we can work with that. That's how it works for me. It doesn't mean it works for anybody else. So is that okay? Does that?
That's brilliant. I would absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing that. I think we all can relate to stories and see our little bits, even if it's kind of slightly different. We can see, oh yeah, I remember that bit, and oh yeah, I didn't do that, but I know I did this, which was kind of like that.
And I don't regret any of it. I've had some right royal laughs, in some times that were probably illegal, but people talk to me, younger people. I worked with a lad who used spice, that terrible drug where they're like zombies. It's just a terrible, terrible drug, and he was buying it online. I mean, God knows what was in it. But the fact that and sometimes, if it's appropriate, I might say that I have experience of taking some drugs. I might not, but I might, because I'm not a counsellor, and it might be what I feel's okay. But there's a bit of a rapport, because I can sort of understand. I'm not saying if you've never taken drugs you can't have a rapport. I'm just saying that the partying, that whatever, the work, putting myself back through college after dropping out. There's so many things that I feel maybe I'll share, but at least I can draw on. So, does anybody want to ask me anything, or would you like me just to carry on actually talking about how I work with young people now?
I would love you to carry on. If anybody does want to ask a question, you can put your hand up if I can see whatever. But I mean, personally, I love what you're sharing and would love to hear this. And if you're not rushing off afterwards, we can have a few minutes for questions if things come up, if you don't.
Of course. Absolutely, that'd be lovely. So with young Devon, I have 6 sessions. That's how it works. It's normally an hour. It doesn't have to be. The sessions don't have to be once a week. We have the autonomy to play around. What happens with young Devon is these are victims of crime. So young Devon has multiple arms. It's an amazing charity, and I was saying this at the conference, so I won't talk about it too much, but excuse me. So what happens is the police, a crime's reported to the police, and invariably now nothing can be done about it. If it's a lower level crime, nothing's even the police don't even go around. They don't interview, and people are often quite angry about that, and probably rightly. And so what I get is a referral, and it's and I get this box, this paragraph. It's police speak, and I really don't understand it, and it's all capital letters, and it's kind of like there's no punctuation, so you kind of have to, it's almost like you have to zone out and focus and just see if you can see a picture from it, those old art things that you used to do. Because I try and I think, oh, do you know what, I don't really care anyway, it's not really important to me what actually happened, because I'm not that interested in the crime, I'm not that interested in the story. But of course I'll listen, of course, if the young person wants to talk about it. And do you know what? Invariably, they don't want to talk about it. So I go in, I meet, have a few conversations on the phone, arrange to meet. I try and meet in school, because the school will give a room. It's much better for me as a safeguarding issue. And it means it opens up my day so I can do more. So I'm not trying to see everybody after school, because, you can't do that. So, or, you can't do many like that after school. So I go in, and in the first session, I just listen. I explain who I am. I give them a very, very short background of who I am and how I've got to this place, really just by talking about my jobs, my further education. I tell them that I'm not a counsellor, parent, teacher, that kind of thing. Have a little bit of rapport, ask them about themselves, tell me about your dog, tell me about your brothers and sisters, tell me anything that just to ease things and get them chatting, and they relax very quickly. And then they tell me about what's going on. And the things that might have happened, the lad who took spice, he was actually a victim of his own crime. He was further down. So I'm up in Exeter. He was further down the county. I'm not going to say even where with him. I met him in a local Asda, just having coffee. Young Devon pays for coffees and teas and things, so it's very easy and relaxed. He was actually a victim of his own crime because he was so out of it. He was shoplifting food in Asda because he was hungry, and he got caught by the security guard, and he started fighting the security guard, and then this guy on a motorbike with a crash helmet came along and sort of whacked him around the head with his crash helmet just to split them up. So he became a victim of his own crime. And he didn't want to talk about the crime. He didn't want to talk about that. He wanted to talk about how to get him out of the fix. When I explained to him that I saw things in a way that I'd love to share with him, and I wanted to just explain to him the human psychological experience and how it works for all of us, he was really interested. They are all really interested in this. So I just started to explain to him. And with all of them, so that's his crime. I've got some nice feedback for you from a girl who was sexually abused by her mum's boyfriend. Her mum's, the man was arrested, her mum split with him, you know, there was no question there. The daughter was really angry with her mum, didn't know how to have a conversation with her mum about it. So everything at home was fraught and angry, and just there were fights because it was kind of like they weren't able to talk. She wanted to find out how to talk to her mum. Sexting, you know, year 7 sending sexting pictures. The 2 people I'm working with at the moment, who I had a session with today, they got burgled, and the girl who's in year 10 came home and found it, and she was really scared to be at home. You know, bullying outside of school, bullying that's really bad, that's got to assault. One situation, people were throwing things at the front door and damaging the front door, so the family were hiding in their own home, you know, really nasty stuff. So this is all the kind of stuff with young Devon. And with my private staff, anxiety, I've just finished with a lad who was smoking weed every day, then took LSD for quite a few days running, had this really terrible experience, freaked himself out, felt he was going to die with anxiety. He took 3 sessions. He took this understanding so quickly. He said, I don't need any more. He said, I've got it. He said, I'm making it all up, aren't I? He said, I'm just getting so caught up in my thinking that I'm thinking that I should be anxious, and I'm looking for the anxious feeling. It's like, yeah, you know, he said, thank you. 3 sessions. A young woman was flashed, literally by a man in a dirty Mac, a flasher, you know, the absolute stereotype. She couldn't leave the house. This is young Devon. She couldn't leave the house. Petrified. Had to have somebody walk with her everywhere. So it impacted her whole family. 4 sessions. She said, oh, thank you ever so much, but I don't want to see you again. And I got caught up in some noisy thinking, and I thought, oh my God, it hasn't worked for her. So I contacted her and I said, would you like to meet somebody else? She said, no, it's enough. And I said, okay, with young Devon, we have some paperwork we need to do to sort of finish it. Would you be happy to meet me just for 10 minutes to do the paperwork? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love that, she said. And she did. So it wasn't even like it was me. She just said, no, I got it. She said, I understood that all through this thinking, I was giving this man the power. Why was I doing that? Was it gone? You know, like, I was amazed. I was amazed. But, you know, so grateful. So what I do is I talk to them about the inside-out understanding, and as I see it, and I start to explain to them about how energy is everywhere. And I can talk about this really scientifically. You know, biology calls it life energy. Physics has another word for it, which is something energy, and it escapes me. But Bill Bryson's book. I don't know if any of you know Bill Bryson. He's a travel writer, but he wrote A Short History of Everything. It's absolutely brilliant. And he talks about this energy all the way through. This is really scientific. And I explain to young people about, it's the energy that has flowers open, has trees grow, and I've written a little short book, which I'd love to tell you about at the end. And I use these examples, cows burping, it's all energy that just happens. It all just happens anyway. Our hearts beating, our lungs breathing. And they're like, yeah, I get that. I get what you're talking about. And I sort of say, for us human beings, it comes to us through our thought. And that's how it separates us out from other species. And as human beings, we all have, it varies, but I've heard 4 thoughts a second, which is about 350,000 thoughts a day. And we explore that a little bit. And then I do a drawing about somebody, and it might be, boy, because I'm not a big drawer, this is as good as it gets. And I sort of talk about all these thoughts. We have thoughts, constantly, and people talk about thought bubbles. And somebody said to me, it's like we've got a bubble machine at the back of our heads, constantly blowing up bubbles. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like for me. And she said, well, why don't we just turn the machine off? And I was like, well, we can't turn the machine off. And she said, can we turn it down? I went, yeah, we can turn it down, which was so lovely. And this just came from a young woman, like year 9. It's so nice. So then we move on and we talk about how all of us can have thought storms and be surrounded by a thought bubble. So I'll draw lots of people, and we're all in it together. And then we might talk about, and I don't know if you can see, but some of the thought bubbles I've made darker. And I'm not suggesting that any thought is different than any other. They're not. But some of them we don't want to let go, do we? Some of them we feel safe when we're having them. And we talk about that, how some of them, and we talk about what they might be for them. So I'm drawing these thought bubbles, and we're making some darker and going, oh yeah, that's the one where I hate school, or that's the one where I don't fit into that social group, and they're identifying. And at some point I introduce little snow globes, and I've just got these from Tiger, and I've bought 20 of them because I love them so much. And I give them to my young people at the end of the sessions, and we talk about how we're in a thought storm, and then it kind of all settles down, which is really nice. So I love that. So and this is so pre-seed, this could be a couple of sessions, it could be 1 session, it could be 6 sessions. And then we move on, and I introduce the concept of their true self, who they truly are. And I sort of talk about me and how I knew there was a true me. I just didn't know what it was. I knew it was there the whole time. And I talk to them about their true self. And I use the diamond, which I actually took from Terry Broughton. This is her thing. And I draw a diamond. And it's like the diamond that a diamond can't be broken. It's perfect. Every diamond is perfect. And it's so strong it can cut metal. So diamond is so lovely. And I talk to them about words that might be in their diamond. And I'm talking about words that they were born with, characteristics they were born with, that they'll always have and they'll die with. And they come up, sometimes they have lots of words, sometimes they have only a couple of words, because I'm asking them to be quite kind to themselves right now. And this is not normal for a lot of the young people I work with, to be kind to themselves as a new concept. So they might come up with words like loving, caring, kind, trusting, honest, friendly. They might come up with those kind of words. And we really celebrate that. And I'm always guiding them back to that. Always guiding them back. Always. One girl was talking to me about, I met her. It was young Devon, and it was victim of crime work. And I said at the conference, and I should have said, I hate the word victim. It's a label. It's not relevant. They're not victim. I don't see a victim. I see this lovely shining person. I tell them it all the time. I reinforce what I see all the time, and they love it. You can see them just grow with it. Some people I don't think have heard it. And this young woman, I can't remember what the crime was, but she didn't want to talk. I don't mean she didn't want to talk about it. It wasn't relevant for her to talk about it. But then she started telling me that she shoplifted, and this wasn't the crime. I'm okay, so you shoplift, okay. What, how come? What happens? Oh, I'm with these older girls and they want me to shoplift, so I shoplift. But she said, I don't want to shoplift. I don't want to do it. I don't like doing it, and I don't like the fact I do it. And she said, and this was over a couple of sessions, she said, and often my younger sister's with me, so she's watching me do it. And I think my sister's doing it. So I guide her back to her diamond. I guide her back to her true self. And she says, it's not who I am. I'm not a shoplifter. And so we can really start to bring in this sense of right and wrong and hearing their voice, hearing it. And we can introduce the context of their voice by saying, have you never sat there watching telly, a repeat of, the omnibus of EastEnders, knowing that you've got homework to do? And there's a voice going, I should be doing my homework. And I go, oh, yeah. Then that's the voice. It's nothing more than that. That's your wisdom telling you. And they're like, okay, so really, really on board. I mean, this is really standard relationship stuff that I'm telling you. So then with the diamond, and you may have seen this, and if you have, I'm really sorry. I don't know if you can see this now, but so we've drawn the diamond, and this is Perry Broughton stuff. We say, our diamond is so shiny and lovely, but what we do is, from quite a young age, we collect poo. We collect poo on it. And the poo goes onto our diamond. So what's your poo? What are you collecting? Oh, I don't know. Oh, my mum and dad split up. God, I hate school. And normally with young people, there's only about this much. I wouldn't want to kind of have that whole diamond covered in poo, and they love the word poo as well. And so we talk about all of this. Go, what's happening to your diamond? Well, it's kind of losing its shine. I'm covering it up. It's getting covered up by the thinking that's coming from this. And then this bit, the blue line, is the varnish, is the kind of the personality that we want to show everybody. We don't want people to see our poo. So we have a personality. We have a kind of an image that we want. And actually, this is, our ego. And with a few young people, we actually end up talking about ego and I. This is I. Why do they do it to me? Well, they were whispering. They must have been talking about me. So, well, why? Why you? But this is the I. And so there's a varnish to cover over the poo. And of course, we'll have a varnish for different people at different times of the day, a varnish for our parents, varnish for our teachers, varnish for our friends. And they really see this. They really, really see this. In fact, today with the young woman I was talking to about the burglary, she's really okay about the burglary, but her dad isn't. And she was talking about her dad being really grumpy and horrible and short-tempered and how he's not very nice to live with at the moment. So we did this exercise for her dad. Obviously, we don't know what her dad's thinking, and obviously we don't know what his poo is, so we were guessing. And as she was guessing what his poo might be, she was saying, oh, he's upset because his lenses, his camera equipment was stolen, and he works full time, but his camera, his photography is a hobby, but he also earns some money from it, and he ordered a lens and it hasn't come. She went, oh, actually that's quite difficult for him. And then she was talking about her mum and dad, and it's quite difficult for both of them at the moment, and they're arguing a little bit, and she started to explore why. And then she went, and my dad's mum, she's on her own because my dad's dad died 4 years ago. I'm going, all right, so there's a bit of grief there for your dad. And for her, it was so empowering. She went, oh, my dad's having quite a tough time. And she'd really connected back to her diamond. She connected in a way that she had some compassion. She had some space. She dropped out of her noisy thinking, and she had some space. And it was so lovely to see. She was like, oh, right. And what a lovely moment where the daughter was actually considering the situation her dad was in beyond herself. So that was really, really nice today. I do quite a few pictures. I do quite a lot of, in fact, I haven't drawn this one, but I do lots of ebbing and flowing lines, all crossing over each other. There might be 8 of these. And I go, you know, you might be on a high, but your mate might be on a low. Or you want somebody to laugh at a joke, but they might be down here and you're up here. You know, it's kind of, none of us might be at the same point at any time. And they can see that too. And the last thing, and this, you know, this is not session 1. I often draw this. And it's the point that we're on a roller coaster of life. And this could be 5 minutes. This could be an hour. This could be a day. This could be a week. But we're on a roller coaster. And the boy who's telling us to go away because he doesn't want us to be in his friendship group, when we're on a high, it doesn't really matter that much to us. But when we're not feeling so good, it's a big problem for us. But it's just the roller coaster that we're on. But what's constant is our true self, is our diamond, is those words of love and care and kindness that never goes. And they really get this picture. They really get that one. So that's kind of what I do. And I'm looking at the time, it's 20 past. So I'd just like to read you a couple of bits of feedback, if that's all right.
Covers have been going off my earphones and it's sticking in my ears.
So,
yeah, that would be perfect. It would be really good to hear that.
So a lad, a 14-year-old, who was he was the one who was severely bullied, and in fact, people were damaging their front door, and you know the family was stuck inside, and he said, "I've learnt to understand things more and not to blame myself. I've learnt to be more resilient." He says, "One step at a time, and I'm trying not to rush." And by that he meant be caught up in a rushing, busy mind. He said, when asked what advice would you give other people, he said, to believe in yourself, remain calm and not react to bullies. By reacting to the bully, it means they've won. Do things that make you feel good and be with people who make you feel good about yourself. Do the right thing and try not to be scared. It's lovely from a 14-year-old lad. This one is the girl who was also 14. She was a year 9, and she was the one who was sexually assaulted by her mum's now ex-boyfriend. He's in prison now. She said, "I like the inner voice stuff. And when we were talking about what my inner voice looked like, as it gave me an understanding of the fact it's always there, but sometimes we forget. When we talked about thought storms and how we can drag them along and how we stop overthinking, we can let go of them. Talking about my inner voice definitely helped me with my outbursts of anger, and it helped me to calm down. By calming down, it helped me loads as I didn't stay angry, and the arguments stopped quicker and resolved quicker." So she found a way to talk to her mum, even about things like going to a party, because she was going into the conversation thoroughly convinced her mum would say no. So she was going in aggressive. And she just learned to find her place, her true self, hear the wisdom, and go into the conversation from there. And it just changed things, you know, like in a week. She came back, she went, "Oh my God, I can't tell you about the conversation I just had with my mum." You know, it was like, wow. There's a few more. This was a girl who was in year 7, and she used to get so angry. She was self-harming. She used to get so angry she'd pass out. So people in her year group would try and get her angry so that she'd pass out because it was quite funny. It's like, so the question was, what's your journey been like? with young Devon. She said it's been different but easy, and in a way that I've been confident in what I've been talking about because I've not been judged at all. How did you manage to get your way through? It was talking to Marie and being able to get help in school too, because my job was to help herself, and that was by engaging with school, especially with the self-harming. Talking about recognizing my thoughts and how this has changed my behavior. For example, having an argument with someone and not thinking clearly, and then being able to stop and talking about it, i.e. not passing out. Even though my thought storms changed my behavior, I realized I was still confident and okay, still the same good person. I mean, this is her words, not my words. Oh, I get so passionate about it. I've been getting really angry and passing out, and I've been self-harming, but now I'm aware of getting caught up in my thinking, and I no longer do this. And the last one I've got for you was an 18-year-old young man who lives way, way, way out in the sticks above Honiton. And his family was targeted by an arsonist. There was something about debt. I don't know what it was. And now there's been a court hearing and the guy's been found guilty, but he's tried to set fire to their car, to their house. And this 18-year-old, he's a big guy, big, tall, like rugby player type guy, soft, gentle young man. Young Devon goes from 10, I think, to 25. So he's in the young Devon age group. He was so anxious, he didn't sleep at night, and he had been known to sit out on his front lawn like a sentry guard. He wasn't sleeping. He was in a terrible place. He took this. He flew with this. Oh, it was delightful. So what was the background that led you to be working? He says my name or not, but it's not about me, it's about him. He said, I felt like I was different, that no one wanted me around, and trying to come to terms with that was difficult for me too. What Maria's shown me is that I don't need to come to terms with it because it wasn't true. Some people did want me around, and I've been beating myself up over something that wasn't real, something that was just thought. How did you manage your way through? I think that the most helpful things for me have been the idea of our inner true self, the idea for thought storms and the realization that all I really needed to do was cut myself. I've told you about the wrong person. I need to be honest. I can't do this. This was a young woman who was 14 and she hated school. She hated school so much it destroyed the family. Sunday evenings and holidays written off because she was so upset about going back to school. So everything I've just read is about her. How did you manage it? I think the most helpful thing for me had been the idea of our true inner self and the idea for thought storms and the realization that all I needed was to cut myself some slack and be kind to myself. She now is in a situation where she doesn't like school. Sunday evenings aren't great, but we all have Sunday evenings. But the house is happier. She doesn't have those moments. And the 18-year-old young man, he's also got one that I don't have here, and he sleeps in a different room. He sleeps all night. He has a different work situation now. He's not a sentry guard. He's not anxious. It's just changed everything. So the thing that I do well is I have a really great rapport, and I think I do it in a way that's really simple. And I do it with diagrams and drawings, and I do it at their pace. I've written a book. It's about to be printed. It's the last proof is with me now. And I'm not trying to say this to sell it to you. It's a book that is in service to young people, although it's for adults as well. It takes 10 minutes to read. It's like those Ladybird books. You know the kind of joke Ladybird books that literally take 10 minutes? It's one of those. And it's about having an opportunity to drop out from noisy thinking and reconnect. That's the point of it. And it's very much in my way of working. So I'm excited about it.
I love the details of that book and to put them underneath like I will put this recording on YouTube. All the recordings of the webinars that we do are on YouTube. So I would like to put the link when the book is available and the recording, if you don't mind. That would be really good, and kind of to tell people. So what's the book called?
It's called You Want to Know a Secret.
Okay.
But it's not linked up to Amazon yet, but it will be very shortly in the next few weeks. So my way is gentle. It's about them being kind to themselves. It's about listening. But they do it. I just guide them back. Always guide them back to their true self and that they're already okay. Always. And that's it.
Marie, it was beautiful. That was just lovely. I can't tell you. We all need tissues here. It was just gorgeous to hear your story. When we're passionate about something, and that the thing that I just love about this understanding is how we can, even when we don't know we've got these things in us. Yes, we all have. And we can't not be compassionate and loving and caring, and that it was gorgeous to listen to you. Thank you. Can I just ask if anyone has got any questions? Are you all right? We are pretty much at 1:30, but are you all right for a few minutes?
We're a bit late then.
Cool.
I am, but I understand if people go, of course.
Yeah, that's cool. So has anyone got any any comments they would like to make, or any questions they would like to ask Marie? I mean, I just think that was gorgeous. Can't say thank you enough. It was beautiful. So if anyone would like to, you can either unmute yourself, or if I can see your picture, you can wave and I will unmute you if anyone would like to say anything to Marie.
Just like to say thank you, Marie. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. So get out there and do it. Guide them back. Go and do it. Just do it. Have those conversations. It's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Diamonds. They're just need to be guided back to it.
And we have that same inner voice that tells us, and we can sometimes not listen to our inner voice, can't we, and not get out there and do these things. So yeah.
I asked Keith Blevin once on a webinar or somewhere, how often do you think you're inside out versus outside in? And he went, I'm inside out maybe like 2% of my 24-hour day. He said, I'm outside in, but I'm aware of it. And I feel the same way. I'm outside in all the time, but I know it now. I can go, I call it my Homer Simpson moment. I kind of go, I'm doing it again, and that's what I talk to young people about, their Homer Simpson moment. But,
Yep. I think we're, all of us are outside in way more than we're inside out, but it is that tiny little bit of awareness, and just that, just the tiniest seeing of the truth of who we are deserves our utmost respect, because the massive shifts that can make in our lives is unbelievable. It's something so small can make such a huge difference.
Well, we're all normal human beings. What we experience is normal. I don't know if Shane's got a question. Have you, Shane? You're on.
Hi. One thing that I realised listening to in the early part is I've not had many jobs. I've never been unemployed, but I know now in my heart that I haven't found my job yet either. So I'm going to wait. I don't know what it is, but I know that I haven't. I know it's taken me 53 bloody years to realise, but I'm going to get there. So thank you. And have you one question? Can I ask you a question? I'll read some of the comments here, but you seem familiar. Have you been on any TV programmes?
No, I do have an everyone face. Lots of people think they've seen me. Depending on where you are, Robin said the same thing. I don't know if you were part of Cornwall College Group. Maybe you were Saltash or Bicton, maybe.
No, I'm North Devon. I'm up here.
Okay. I've got a...
You've just got one of those faces. Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you. So yeah, we've had lots of people say thank you for sharing. Thank you. It was amazing. Your story is inspiring. I think you were quite a hit. I think you can officially be a lovely person.
You can have a tattoo.
Yeah, you have to have a heart tattoo now. This is every lovely person has to have a heart tattoo. So.
I'm on it.
Good, cool. I'll say thank you.
To contact me, please just contact me via Facebook, Realization Works. Just contact me, private message me, whatever. I can give you my contact, but anybody wants to chat, I'd be really happy to chat.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, thank you very much. And if anyone can't find Marie and you know me, just get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with Marie. That's no problem either. So that was just wonderful. Thank you very, very, very much. And so have we got a lovely people?
I just wanted to pop in and say thank you, Marie. That was absolutely beautiful. I was a bit gutted that you didn't get more than a couple of minutes at the Resilient Young Mind, so I'm glad we got a chance to hear your story and some of your
and
work.
Stop making us cry.
Yeah, and we've been off screen crying over here. So next week our lovely person is Jackie Ford, and Ju's going to be host for us next week because we have to be out next Wednesday.
It's my son's 21st birthday next Wednesday, so I have to spend the evening with I want to spend the evening with my son. I wouldn't want to not be. So the lovely Julie Weeks is going to step in and do the webinar for us.
Yes, so that's next week.
And we are now away officially from tomorrow till Sunday. So if anyone does send any messages or try and get in touch with us, we're not ignoring anybody, but we are at a silent retreat and we don't have our phones or computers with us. So we're normally making a lot of noise and all over Facebook and doing all sorts of things. So if it kind of goes quiet, we're okay.
Yeah,
supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's supposed to be what's happening, so that's good. But we will be back next Thursday. If anyone is close enough, we will be doing our physical meetup at Roundswell in Barnstable next Thursday. Yeah. And just as a little bit of a plug here, the lovely Robin, who's on the screen here, did her very first meetup in Bude in Cornwall last night, and she did an amazing job. It was really, really great. And she's going to be organising another one, and we think it's January what date did we decide on? The 10th of January. So if anybody knows anyone in the Bude area in Cornwall, or anyone who's watching this and wants to pass on the message, then it would just be great to see you there. So, and Shane, I just can't wait to see what you do. I can't wait to see what the change and the difference we've seen in you over the weeks has been absolutely amazing. So so thank you very, 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 very much, everybody.
Thanks, Marie.
Thank you.